vapors, madmen, old 10 Don Drapers.
Hello and welcome to our brand new weekly podcast, Two Banks of Four. On this podcast, we're just going to be talking about football in general and the sport and football things that have happened throughout the week. This could be about international football, club football, players and transfers, anything that's football related we're going to talk about. The reason we're doing this podcast is purely of our own enjoyment and trying to get our opinions out there, as well as helping us in future endeavours that could help back us up really. I mean, if we want to go into something to do with football in the future, it leads us in good stead. So that's our thinking behind it. But ultimately, the main reason is we just want to get our opinions out there, and it's a platform to do so. So this is episode 1. We're just going to keep going as long as we can and see where we get to. So first things first, we're going to be talking about the situation at Bury Football Club. And obviously we know they've been expelled from the English Football League recently. And they're now out of League One altogether. There's 23 teams in there. Their owner, Steve Dale, didn't end up signing the club in time. And the AFL came ahead and expelled them. So, Tommy, what's your opinion on the issues that have happened with Bury? And what can you see them doing in the future?
Basically, many owners come over knowing nothing about football, and they have basically owned a football club because of how much money there is in the league. We need to look at why there's so much money in football, and I believe that two of the biggest providers of money to owners are TV deals and shirt sales. Sky Sports are pricing people out of being able to watch football. I don't have it. Our local doesn't have it, but as long as people keep paying for their subscriptions, their prices are just going to keep rising and rising. They are taking advantage of people's passion for football, because people like me, and probably you too, watching football is all we have in our lives. It's all I look forward to on the weekend. I know this sounds like it is unrelated to Bury, but the reason that they are where they are is because they have an owner that doesn't know anything about football, was not interested in a club, and was only in it for money. And the reason that he was in it for money is because the main provider is TV deals. So basically, I think that we need to look at Sky Sports and BT and basically take a stand. So what I would do is I would basically cancel the subscription to Sky Sports and BT Sport, and basically say, you're giving too much money to football, you're giving too much money to these greedy owners. Basically, we're not going to pay for your subscription until you stop.
But in a situation like Bury, isn't it more? You've got to look at how it all starts. I mean, with Bury, they're hardly going to be on TV for a start. So the TV deals, I'm not really sure if they'd be too effective of that. I guess. I mean, if you look at the amount of money that the League 2 clubs and League 1 clubs get in comparison to the Championship and Premier League, it's pretty small. They get their money from the people who turn for the turnstiles. They get their money through the people who go for the gates. You know what I mean? And shirt sales, but they're much smaller. The gap between the Championship and League 1 is, I'd say, probably the biggest gap you're going to see. Possibly League 2 and the Conference Premier as well is fairly big.
I understand that, but it's symbolising a lot more in football. The demise of Bury is symbolising a lot more. It's symbolising how fans are being priced out of being able to watch football, being able to go to football, being able to buy merchandise. So Bury is basically a small spoke on a very big wheel to do with the excessive money in football.
In my opinion, when you look at how an owner becomes an owner of a football club, so they could be a businessman, they could be anyone who's wealthy really, and what people don't understand is the chances of you getting a profit from owning a football club, unless you're right at the top, unless you're a Roman Abramovich or a Sheikh Mansour, the chances of you making a penny from your football club is extremely small. If you are going to make money from your football club, it means you're doing something wrong and you're milking the club of their finances.
Yeah, that's why owners, though, there are so many bad owners.
I mean, you see the interview Steve Dale did with 5 Live where he said he didn't even know Bury had a football club before he bought them.
Yeah, exactly.
He couldn't care less. You've got players losing their houses, losing their homes because he's not paying. You saw Steve Dale went on air at the same time as one of the Bury players. You see that lack of communication. He's begging the guy to pay him. I mean, it's absolutely terrible.
But he doesn't know anything about football, yet he's come over and bought a football club. But why is that? That is money, and where's the money coming from? It's coming from the TV deals, which is the main one, really. Well, I personally think it's the main one. It's coming from, why don't the fans boycott? Why have so many fans still going to Bury, or were still going to Bury, while their owner was there? Shirt sales, you don't need to buy the shirts. Shirt sales, you
could say that, but with the smaller clubs, it's not so much. When you've got your big clubs like your Aston Villas, your Spurs, your Evertons, every club, they've got like 40,000 seater stadiums in the excess of that. They're not community clubs in a sense like Bury are. And you see these lower clubs like Crewe Alexandra, Bury, I'm just naming a few off the top of my head, Gillingham. These clubs are the heart of their community. You know what I mean? Yeah. They are what everyone looks forward to at the weekend. Everybody in the town, city, however big it is, and usually it's the smaller cities, they look forward to the weekend of football. It's what they have to look forward to. So when Steve Dale comes in, like he has, and he rips the heart out of the football club and takes it away, you can imagine the effect that's going to have on the fans, and you can't, in my opinion, like you're saying, tell them.
But the fans can't. The fans are just sitting there and letting it happen instead of taking some sort of responsibility. And it might be small, but if many people do it, if this podcast somehow manages to get 1,000 people to boycott games, stop buying shirts, and cancel their TV subscriptions, we've made a change in football, haven't we? Really?
I disagree with that.
Go on. Why?
You never go and watch football games. Me and Harry do. I really enjoy it. I wouldn't stop if my team were like screwed over by owners.
I have to agree there. I mean, you look at the Newcastle fans. They absolutely despise Mike Ashley, and they always talk about doing boycotts. But at the end of the day, St James's Park. Yeah, but St James's Park is going to be full every single week, and that's.
But why would you talk about doing boycotts when you're never actually going to do it? What's the point? They're just threatening. They're just threatening. The owners are still taking the money. They're laughing. They're still taking. They're still taking the money from the turnstiles. All they're hearing is the fans complaining while they're counting their cash. I don't think the owners are going to change just because some fans don't like the way the club is run.
The hard thing about football, if you have that in any other situation in life or in sport, it'd be a lot easier to do. So if you're being treated wrongly at work and you're getting underpaid, you go on strike, it's like, or you demand a pay rise or something like that. You have the ability to do that. With football, it's different. You don't go to your football club, you're missing, because most people, say for example, most people work a 9 till 5, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
You go through the shifts, you do your work throughout the week, and then you go to football on a Saturday or Sunday. That's your day out. You see the same faces. Yeah. You're out with friends, and you make a day of it. And if you go out in the night, then you wake up in the morning, you get a complete day. You know what I mean? You take that away from someone because of an owner. Not only are you letting you could look at it both ways. You could look at it like you're letting the owner win if you don't go.
How?
Because the owner's taking your love away from football. But then you could also look at it that by going, you're letting the owner win because you're putting money in his pocket. It's a really tough one. I understand why fans struggle. I really do.
But take a stand. Nothing ever gets done if people just keep milling around, though. You've got to take some sort of action and responsibility until change has happened. Then you can go back to going to football games.
See, I just don't see. I just don't think it's that easy.
I understand it's that easy because I understand it's not that easy because the owners, are ripping the heart out of the fans, isn't it? They're taking advantage of the fans' passion by raising these ticket prices and that.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I've spoke about a lot and the thing that I've argued is I think it all comes down eventually. The owners can be as crooked as they want to be. For me, it comes down to this EFL safeguarding check that they do on owners when they come in and want to buy football.
But what is that about, though? Does that make any difference?
That's what I'm trying to say. Surely there's something wrong if a guy like Steve Dale can go on the radio and say he didn't even know Bury had a football club. Mm-hmm. Right? If a guy like that can come in and buy a football club like Bury, who has years of history. They're founder of the Football League. They've won an FA Cup. You know what? Before the Champions League and before the massive TV money came in, the FA Cup actually used to be looked at in a bigger light.
And we will talk about why that is not in the future.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I just think there must be a problem with the way you can buy a football. If it's that easy for a businessman to buy a football club, the EFL have got to look at themselves and question their integrity. And
because the EFL love money. All it is, they don't care who runs the club as long as they're still getting money at the end of the day. You know, all 72 clubs could go bust, but as long as the top ones at EA, as long as the big wigs, not EA, as long as the big wigs at EFL is still getting paid, they don't care what happens to football.
It's like Bolton as well. I saw Kevin Nolan on the debate on Sky Sports. It's a show that's on. I think it's on Sky Sports Main Event with Jess Shrews as host, and he gets a few random clients on and participants. Like I think they had Phil Parkinson, who was the old Bolton manager, and he gave up before they got bought out by the company, which is fair enough. From his point of view, he's got to put money on the table. I know everyone says, "Oh, these people, these managers and footballers get paid shed tons anyway. What does it matter if they don't get paid a month's wages?" But the thing is, they're living a lifestyle.
You can't afford not to get paid.
And can you blame them? If you're earning 50 grand a week, not that I'm saying Phil Parkinson is by a long shot. There's no chance he would be. He's in League One. Would used to be in the Championship.
Yeah.
But if you're living at a bracket where you're earning 50 grand a week, if you don't get paid 1 week, your lifestyle, even if you get paid 10 grand a week, is still going to take a hit because you're living that way. You know what I mean? So as I was going to say, Phil Parkinson was on the debate with Kevin Nolan. And Ken Anderson, who was the Bolton chairman, rang Kevin Nolan and asked him who he should get as manager. And for me, if you're an owner and you're ringing an ex-player and asking who you should get for your manager,
you're already in trouble.
Again, you're in trouble from the word go.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Bury with Steve Dale and that interview he did with 5 Live where he said he didn't even know Bury had a football club in the city. It doesn't. These guys don't care. They do not care.
No, they don't care because they're getting money, and how they're getting money is we've got to look at the root of the problem. I believe strongly, which is the TV sponsorship deals, which is Sky Sports. They're charging £8. They charge £8 for a day. That they a day Sky Sports pass. That is disgusting. But the fans will eat that right up. They won't take a stand because again they're taking advantage of their love for football. They won't take a stand, but I just think we should, at least for one season, even if for one season so many people didn't buy Sky Sports and BT Sport and just went down to their local instead, that would cause a massive difference.
So Joe, in your opinion, how would you stop this kind of thing happening in the future to clubs around the country?
Make sure the owner is financially stable before taking over. I haven't got a problem with the TV thing because people, I want to watch as many matches as I can, so I watch them all on TV. I don't see Tommy's problem.
So we're going to move on from Bury now because we've been speaking about it for about 15 minutes. So we'll move on swiftly from that. And obviously, we're hearing that the EFL will possibly give them a chance to be reinstated into League 2 next season, but obviously that's a long way off, and that's if their ownership change does go through. So we're gonna go ahead and hope for that. But moving on, we're gonna talk about VAR and in particular the issue we had with Jack Grealish and Kevin Friend against Crystal Palace last Saturday. So here's the situation. If you haven't seen it, I'll retweet it on the Twitter account for our podcast. Basically, Jack Grealish has run into the box. He's got the ball. You've got to set the scene as well here. I don't know how many thousand Villa fans are in there. They've paid their money. Paid their money to go up to Selhurst from Birmingham. So they've gone train, paid for petrol in the car. They've bought booze. You think about how much money it is for an away fan.
Yeah.
Right? And if your team goes up there, it's like any away day. If your team goes to an away day and they lose, get battered, whatnot, and you pay the money, then you know what? I respect every single away fan that does that because it's a lot of money. But if you lose in a legit manner, then fair enough. I mean, that's football. But when something like this happens, it just makes me feel for him. So Jack Grealish is running into the box. He gets a push from Zaha in his back. He's going in. He's into the box at this point.
Off balance.
He's off balance because he took a push from Zaha.
Yeah.
He does make contact with Cahill, albeit not enough for me to give a penalty.
Yep.
He passes the ball off as he's off balance and going down. So he took a push from Zaha and he took a knock from Cahill. He's going over. The ball has been played to Henry Lansbury. The whole time Jack Grealish has got his eyes on the ball looking at Henry Lansbury. He has not turned around to appeal. The only person on the pitch who has appealed is Hourihane to the right, I'd say about 90 degrees on from Grealish, 10 metres away.
Yeah.
He's the only person with his hands up appealing. You've got the Palace players with their hands in the air saying that Cahill didn't touch him. Meanwhile, Henry Lansbury smashes the ball home to make it 1-1 in the 96th minute in what could be an absolutely vital point for Villa. Because as a Villa fan, I'll admit, I think we will be in a relegation battle this season just because you come up into a league. I think what Wolves did last year was a massive exception. But I'll go on to that another day. In my opinion, the fact that he blew his whistle... So yeah, Kevin Friend blows his whistle at this point and gives a dive against Grealish and books him for simulation, a yellow card. So then you think VAR. Surely VAR has been brought in to solve this issue. It's a clear and obvious mistake, and VAR has been brought in to change this. But he doesn't. And every person is confused as to how this has happened. It's unbelievable. So Villa have been robbed of a point. And I'm going to admit, it wasn't a deserved point by any means. Yeah. Palace dominated Villa the whole game, except for the opening 15 minutes. But a point's a point, and we held them off at 1-0 for that long. But so let's question the referee's integrity here. He has gone and given this a simulation with, I don't know what he's seen. He must have just thought Grealish has dived and then given the foul. But the fact that the ball played on, he blew his whistle before Henry Lansbury struck the ball. Right?
Yeah.
Which means VAR can't intervene.
It can't come in.
No. The second he has blown that whistle, VAR is out. The game's dead, essentially, until he blows the whistle to resume.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is how VAR has been brought in to deal with this problem, because it is a clear and obvious mistake. Apparently VAR has looked at the penalty issue, and that's the problem. For me, it wasn't a penalty. I know a lot of Villa fans have said it was a penalty because Cahill's made contact with him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a penalty. I'm more annoyed about the fact that the goal should have stood. It was a perfectly legal goal. So anyway, my rant's here, but opinion on.
Alright, so basically, we've already said about, in a literal sense, it can't be awarded because the ref blew the whistle before Lansbury put the ball in the net. So this means that VAR can't come in because obviously it eliminates the excuse of players saying that they stopped playing because the ref blew the whistle.
Yeah, which would have obviously been the excuse from Hodgson, and you can't blame him. That would have been the most logical excuse.
So whether it was a dive or not, VAR can't come in. It can't allow the goal. The difference, we've got two different types of VAR, don't we? We've got the European VAR and we've got the English VAR. If you've been watching the Champions League games, the European VAR will be used a lot more often as they allow play to go on until the end of the phase. Not until the end of the phase, until the player is stopped for a foul or free kick or thrown or whatever. This does seem better on paper, doesn't it? However, if the ball hits the net, if someone scored a goal, the fans will go wild, won't they? They'll start cheering. Yeah. But there have been many instances in the Champions League and Europa League where a team has scored, the fans have lost themselves in the moment, and then they've overturned it. Obviously, we mainly looking at the Sterling goal against Spurs. It's the main reason, really, why VAR is ruining football, and it's taken away the moment where you can lose yourself as the ball hits the net.
For me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for me, that is the main reason you watch football. That moment, if you've been to a football match, which I'm guessing the majority of the people listening to this have been, the moment that ball hits that net is one of the best moments you ever go through, and we can all agree with that. Whether it's an away day, there's people falling all over you, or whether even if it's at home and you're surrounded by your mates, going absolutely bonkers. It's just like, that is the best feeling. And the first thing you do at a game, not so much as when you're watching it TV, I don't think, but the first thing you do at a game is you look straight at that linesman. Well, I do anyway. While I'm celebrating, I look straight at the linesman. He's got his flag down. Mate, mayhem.
Yeah.
But now you've got the problem with VAR coming in. And obviously we've seen it with Gabriel Jesus in the Spurs game in the Premier League.
That's a rare instance, though, where in England the goal has been scored and then it's been overturned. It happens a lot more in Europe, and I'll go on to why in a minute.
So we saw the same thing, obviously, in the Champions League game with Sterling. But off a personal experience, when I went to Aston Villa versus Everton, when we went to Aston Villa versus Everton, I was sat in the North Stand, which if any Villa fans are listening, you'll know is the one Villa shoot at in the first half. It's like kind of a tradition. We shoot at the whole end second half and the North Stand first half. We played the ball through to Wesley, our new striker, and he looked in line with the defence. It was a very good run. He was in line with the defence. He puts the goal away, and I can tell you, I've never been more half-hearted in a celebration for a goal in my life, because it was tight, and you have in the back of your head, this could get ruled out in any second. And it's gonna kill the game. It's gonna kill.
I've been to 2 games this season, seen 2 goals. No one has not celebrated when the goals have gone in.
But were they clear and obvious goals?
I don't know. One of them could have been a foul. I don't know. But
The difference between football and other sports is there is no feeling like when the ball hits the back of the net. But carrying on for VAR,
I don't know. I've seen Steve Smith go out yesterday. Thing of beauty.
After he scored 200 odd runs.
Yeah, 208.
In England, the referees blow straight away, don't they? They see it, they call it, which I personally think is better, because then it stops the cases of the goal being scored and then it being ruled out. In very rare instances, this happens. We've only really seen it once, maybe twice in the Premier League. There is a question as to whether Kevin Friend was too hasty when he blew for the dive from Jack Grealish.
Absolutely too hasty.
But referees are instructed not to make a decision unless they are 100% sure. So he must have been 100% convinced that Grealish dived to blow for the foul.
But then you see how it's clearly not a dive. And the thing is, if Grealish turns around, and for me a dive, right? So my definition of a dive is when a player avoids contact purposely to gain an advantage by winning a free kick or a penalty, or to waste time, I guess, in certain circumstances.
Yep.
If Grealish hits the deck, turns around, starts screaming at Kevin Friend for the penalty in the 95th minute to earn his team a point when they're 1-0 down, I'll understand it and I'll give it to him. And then, if he blows his whistle, straight away, they can have a look at it and VAR can determine. It's the fact for me that Grealish hasn't turned around. He's carried on and focused on the game. He has not turned around. He's in fact played the ball and he's got his eyes on the play the whole time. Kevin Friend for me has questioned Grealish's integrity. This whole thing about Grealish being a known diver.
He's got a reputation for being a diver. And when you have a reputation for being a diver, if it's 50-50 whether it's going to be a dive or not, more often than not, they will not give the foul. We've seen it with Kane twice. One against Newcastle, one against Arsenal. Kane has a reputation for being a diver, and he's not been given the penalties.
I'm sorry, you hear this whole thing about reputation of being a diver. He's been done for diving in one game, and that was against West Brom in the FA Cup quarter-final in 2014. Since then, he has never been done for a dive, and he is the most fouled player this season so far. He was the most fouled player in the Championship last season and the year before. Bear in mind, he was injured for the majority of last season.
But if you dive even once during your career, you now have a reputation for being a diver, so refs are going to be a lot more harsh on you. Kevin Friend, he can't have waited to play on because he was A, 100% certain that Grealish had dived, and B, he can't play advantage because Lansbury had the ball. So if it was a foul to Palace and Villa have the ball, he can't play the advantage. If Lansbury hadn't have scored, this wouldn't have been such a major problem with it.
I agree. If Lansbury blazes over the bar, then we're looking directly at the penalty decision. I think it's the fact that the goal has not been ruled. No, it wasn't outside the box.
No, it wasn't.
But I'm kind of thinking, even if he puts it wide, you're still looking at the penalty decision, and that is debatable. Even though I said I don't think it was a penalty, a lot of referees give that as a penalty. He's made contact. You got the initial push. There's contact of KO, whether it's enough contact or not. That's a person's opinion, but I don't think it is. Do you think it is?
But there are times though where it's neither a foul nor a dive, and I do think that this is one of those times. Should he have blown up? No, but he was 100% certain that Grealish dived, so I sympathise with him there. I think he has to. If he thinks that Grealish has dived, whoever's got the ball, whatever happens next, he's got to blow up.
So you're trying to tell me, in the same situation, you've got a winger who's running down the line, and a fullback comes in for a tackle, right? And the player wants to avoid getting hurt, getting clattered, and dives out the way of the man. But obviously, you don't appeal if you do that, right? Because you're just trying to protect yourself. You don't appeal. Does that count as a dive then, in a referee's opinion, or do you just class that as the player trying to get out of the way? I feel sorry for Daniel James, who I know he's been done for diving twice this season. For one of them, I do not think that he intended to gain an advantage. He didn't turn around and appeal. I think diving has to come down to whether a player appeals or not.
I don't know. There are definitely times when it's neither a foul nor a dive.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Players do try to get out the way of getting hurt, basically. But I don't agree with the opinion, therefore, that if you dive or it's not given as a foul, you have to be booked, which is what a lot of people who don't actually understand football think.
So Joe, from a neutral point of view, because obviously you follow Sheffield United around the country as much as you can, if
Tommy has me to a game every year.
So, if you're in a Villa fan situation, if you're in a neutral fan situation, what are you thinking about this situation as a whole?
I think the ref made the wrong call, but VAR couldn't do anything about it. But I'm sure Villa will pick up points when it's mistaken later on in the season.
That is true. I mean, you could look at it in the opposite direction. With you hope justice will do its thing and Villa will have a VAR decision or a bad refereeing decision go in their favour to make it for lost points.
It all evens itself out in the end.
It would be absolutely classic for Villa to get relegated by 1 point now.
Let's hope so.
Alright. So moving on from Grealish and VAR, which is a bit of a touchy subject because, you know, it's ruined a lot of Villa fans' international breaks, it's fair to say. But Pochettino, go mad.
Basically, the start of the season Spurs have had, we somehow picked up a point against Man City with arguably our worst performance. I don't know in how many years since I've started watching Spurs. We had 2 shots, 2 goals, and another shot, which was a hurricane from the halfway line. That was it. That was literally the only attacks that we had on Man City. I think that if we'd have lost to a Man City and then lost to Newcastle, potentially he could have been gone. I honestly think.
He's your best manager you've had in
that's fine.
years.
But there's only so far that managers could take clubs.
He took you to a Champions League final last year.
Yeah, I understand, but there's only so far that managers have limits. He is a really, really good manager. He makes players want to die for him, which is what the fans want. But, you know, some teams don't really have it. You know, you look at, I don't know, I can't really think of any examples, but there are some players that don't want to play for their manager. He attracts big players because of this, because players want to play under him. And I'm allowed to say that now because obviously we've signed some players in the summer. However, as a tactical manager, he fails to see the simple things. If you're playing against a team that press high, you look in behind their defence, don't you? You look for the over-the-top ball. If you can't do that because their defence is too deep, you try and play in between the lines of the defence in midfield, don't you? It's simple.
Yeah, it's basic stuff.
If a team has 11 players camped in your own half, you play quick football, try to draw one of them out, and then take advantage of the space while they're out of shape, don't they? It's as basic as football gets, really, yet Pochettino still fails to see that. I'm talking about the game against Arsenal and the game against Newcastle, which I will get on to. When we played away at City, and particularly Arsenal, you need to get a foothold in the game by quieting the crowd, don't you? Because in North London derby, the Arsenal players will play off the crowd. They'll play off the crowd's emotion and sound and that.
Yeah, same with any derby, really, isn't it? You've got to shut that crowd up before they get going, otherwise they're going to give the fans ultimately a big boost.
Yeah. How you do this is limit the possession and the number of chances the team has, don't they? Because the less the team is on the ball, the quieter the crowd will get. Arsenal literally had 3 players on the edge of our box from goal kicks, and he plays short. So already,
that was an absolute joke.
So already from Vertonghen and Alderweireld's first touch, they have Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Nicolas Pepe straight on them. We gave the ball away on our own third, God knows how many times. And we got incredibly lucky that Arsenal didn't score from it, didn't we? There was pretty much one time where it was near millimetres whether one of the front 3 would have got the ball. However, when we did decide to hit Kane, when he was challenging Socrates, we scored from it, didn't we? We nodded it up to Kane. Kane headed it down to Lamela, I think it was.
Yeah,
he shot.
It was,
yeah. We scored from that. But on the off chance that we actually decided to hit Kane again, we didn't do it while they were... When we did decide to hit Kane, we didn't do it quickly to catch Arsenal off guard. Lloris basically told the whole team to push up, which meant that Arsenal would get back into their shape and defend it easier. So I'm not saying we need to go long every time, but we do need to vary it. And when we do vary it, make sure that Arsenal don't actually know what we're going to do. Maybe catch them by surprise once or twice.
2 things I'd say about Poch, right? And this is, I'm not saying I'm an expert on how Tottenham play or what Pochettino does, because I don't follow Spurs. But from an outsider point of view, from what I see from Tottenham fans on Twitter and from watching various games this season, the first thing for me would be subs. I don't know what happens with his subs, but he never seems to bring anyone on that's going to change the game. Llorente last year and Lucas Moura can be exceptions.
You've never seen him make a sub at half time, have you?
It's just, I always see him bring on Ben Davies towards the end of games. I wonder what that actually gives you.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just because Ben Davies is one of your better players on the bench. It's just the fact that he's a left back.
Yeah, I know.
And then the second thing, I mean, I'll go back to the subs in a minute because I don't know as much as you do about the situation with the subs.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I'd say is every time I see you defend a corner, you always leave a man on the edge of the box free. Not you attacking wise. Arsenal, the amount of times they had someone who could hit a ball on the edge of your box ready to receive it off a corner.
Yeah.
And if you're a player and you can strike a ball from 18 yards, you fancy yourself every time.
Yeah, you do, especially with the amount of time that we leave on the edge of the box. So we don't know. We struggle to play against teams that press high. We also struggle to play against teams that park the bus somehow. I've watched that.
Newcastle do it especially.
I've watched Spurs play like we did against Newcastle so many times, where they will just sit 11 men behind the ball and just camp there and say, "Come at us." It's not as though we don't have the players to combat it. It's not as though we don't have pacey players like Son and Moore. We don't have creative players like Eriksen and Lo Celso. So really, he has got no excuse to not be able to do it. For some reason, we just come unstuck against these sorts of teams. It's everything. It's simple, really. What you got to do is just play the ball quickly, zip it around, draw a man out, and then just expose the space he's created. And then suddenly Newcastle are out of shape, and we can make a break from there. Everything is so slow and lethargic though. Whenever we play against these teams, the passes are either too slow or they're to the wrong foot, or they're either bouncing so the players can't really get a good first touch. For some reason, we try and just cross it into Kane, and Newcastle could eat crosses all day, couldn't they? Their back three were just absolutely loving it. They were finding it so easy. Even in the last minute, where Newcastle tried to make a break to get a second because they got greedy, they had about 4 players that we won the ball, and instead of attacking them while they were out of shape, Ben Davies stopped, waited for them to get back into shape, and then started playing it around again. And it completely baffles me as to what Pochettino sees and how he's actually going to combat these teams.
That Newcastle game just summed up Spurs.
Yeah.
It couldn't have summed up Spurs any more, that Newcastle game. I mean, you've got a team that can come out here and compete against Man City, albeit it was a bad performance. You can't really call a 2-2 draw against City a bad performance. I know you may not play to the expectations you wanted to, but result-wise, you're going to take a 2-2 draw against City.
Yeah, but you can have bad performances and good results, can't you?
Yeah, I'll accept that. But then you take the Newcastle game, for example, and I'm just saying this, against Aston Villa, Spurs weren't amazing. Let's be real. We shut you out for at least 70 minutes with a new defence.
No. You had one goal, one other chance, and apart from that, you did exactly what Newcastle did, but we got lucky in the shot from Ndombele went in, and then you lot started panicking, and then we got another lucky break from Kane.
Let's focus in here. So you got the Ndombele goal.
Yeah.
He's took a shot, it's deflected off Mings. Another day, that's going wide, hitting the post. Maybe it goes in, fair enough if it does. And you look again, the Kane goal. Mings goes to clear a shot. He couldn't do anything else to it. He's just got to it. By complete unluck, he has deflected it off Bourne Engels, and it's deflected right into Kane's path. And there's 2-1 for you.
So where does the good performance for Villa come in there then?
Because you've got to take all the things into. You got to take all the.
Because you went 1-0 up. Somehow that's a good performance. Because you shut us out.
You've got to remember, we're newly promoted to the Premier League. We've been a 3-year absence. The majority of, I think, Grealish, Neil Taylor, Matt Targett, James Chester, 2 of which didn't play.
Whatever team it is, you didn't play well. Whatever team it is,
we have a game plan, and here's where me and you disagree. If a team has a game plan to go out there and attack, and they attack well, then fair enough. If a team goes out there to play the Champions League finalists after being newly promoted, after we were 15th with about 12 games to go last season in the Championship, so we were, for the majority of the year, a mid-table Championship team, right?
Yeah.
We've gone to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, first game of the season, new ground. I know they had a few games there last season, but it was the first start to a season with the ground. Expectations are high after a Champions League. You've brought in big money signings like Lo Celso, Ndombele, Sessegnon not so much, but it's still a new signing. There's a good buzz around Tottenham. Everything's against Villa in this situation. So we've pinged the ball up top. McGinn's running behind and we bagged a goal. That is our game plan.
But if your game plan fails, if your game plan of Park the Bus fails, and you've got no plan B, then it's not a good performance.
Here we say, I said to you, it was a good performance for 70 minutes. We played extremely well. Once we conceded, I looked to my dad and I said, we're losing this game.
There's no plan B though. If you park the bus,
if
you park the bus and you go down, where's your plan B?
You don't have a plan B.
You start to panic. Exactly.
But what can you do? When a team is just better than you, what can you do? If Newcastle had conceded to Spurs to draw it level, they'd have gone on to lose that game. They'd have opened up. And that's where the big teams kill off the small teams. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
You take Brighton or Southampton, they do exactly the same thing. If they were playing Spurs or City United or Chelsea, they would sit with 2 banks of 4, fully enough. And then, well, either way, they drop their defence and midfield in behind, and then if they concede, they open up. They've got to attack the game.
Yeah.
It happens with every small team when they play one of the top 6.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no plan B. You don't, if you shut a
But
team
what
out
team
for
does have a
70...
plan B in that situation? What would your plan B be?
But that doesn't mean it's a good performance, though.
In my opinion, it is a good performance.
No. If you win the game like Newcastle did, if you did exactly what you...
You look at it this way.
If you did exactly what you set out to do, which was to stop the team from scoring, then it's a good performance. But if you fail in your primary objective...
If your game plan works for 70 minutes out of 90, is that overall a good game?
No.
How?
Because you've got to sustain it. You've got to work hard enough to sustain
But you sustained it
the
for all but
defence
20
for
minutes.
90
To me, the
minutes.
majority of that is a good game.
I do get what you're saying, but if you fail in your primary objective, which is to stop a team from scoring, and they score, you failed. That's a poor performance.
I'm not too sure.
I'm not having it, mate.
Right, so we've talked Pochettino, we've talked Spurs and their start to the season.
Yeah, we will talk Pochettino some more in the future. I
I'm
can
sure we
fucking
will.
guarantee you that.
So, moving on to the England squad.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to England, we've seen a lot in the media about one man, and that man is Tyrone Mings. He split a lot of opinions. I think he has been absolutely incredible for Aston Villa since he's come in, and that can't be denied. He's come in the whoa, we're considering both leagues here. He's come into the January transfer window on loan last season. Not only, and a lot of Villa fans would agree with me, he's the biggest leader in our team. He should have the armband. If I'm Dean Smith, I'm taking a big call. If we lose another 2 games, I'm getting Grealish rid of the armband. I'm giving it Tyrone Mings. Right? He's a leader. He's the only person you see telling everyone where to go, telling everyone what to do. Not only is he calm and composed on the ball and plays out the back, which is what Gareth Southgate wants. He said that. He's not only that. His presence alone. He's massive. He's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can you ask for in a defender? He started the season incredibly well. He's got 2 of the highest stats in clearances and tackles in the Premier League.
But that comes with playing for a team that's on the back foot all the time. You're not going to have, Laporte and Stones. You're not going to have Laporte and Stones having really high clearance success rate or whatever it is.
Here's the thing. If he's able to perform at those levels when he's constantly under pressure and constantly being attacked, surely that leads him in good stead for playing for a team like England, who are, let's be honest, in these qualifiers, they're going to be on the front foot the majority of the time. Surely he will be in a good position to deal with the attacks because he's used to it so much compared to the likes of Maguire, who will face. I guarantee he will start tomorrow alongside Maguire. I guarantee it. I guarantee he'll start next to Maguire. I guarantee he'll start next to Maguire.
I don't think that Southgate picked him because he's played very well, and I think that Southgate has picked him to say to players who have not made the squad, look at how open I am to going out and watching players of lesser clubs. If you keep working hard, this could be you. I'm convinced that Southgate hasn't picked Mings because of his performances.
I think that is complete bollocks. He's been the best of the rest as a centre-back for me.
No, he hasn't.
Of the rest, I'm talking the other 14. So you eliminate the big 6.
James Tarkowski.
I think he's been better than Tarkowski.
Cody.
He's been...
Definitely better than
Right,
Cody.
shut up about Cody. First 3-4 games we've had this season, however many it's been now. Wolves, you've got to remember they've drawn 3 and lost 1. They haven't won a game yet.
Also, England play.
Yeah. But Connor Cody, and you can ask Wolves fans this, he's had a bad start to the season. Did you not see his mistake against Everton?
Villa play with a back 4, don't they? They don't play with 3 at the back. England play, yeah, they do.
Not anymore.
They do.
They 4 at the back now.
England don't play 3 at the back anymore. They did in the World Cup.
It's because you don't watch football, Tommy.
Okay, they didn't play 4 at the back. No, they didn't play 3 at the back for what, like 2 games?
They don't play it anymore. They stopped after the World Cup.
Nations
League.
They didn't in the Nations League.
Okay, anyways, let's say that they do. We don't know the team tomorrow, but let's say that they do play 3 at the back tomorrow.
At some point.
Let's say they do play 3 at the back tomorrow. Connor Cody is used to playing 3 at the back because he plays 3 at the back with Wolves, doesn't he? Tyrone Mings does not. He does not fit I wouldn't say he doesn't fit the system because it's
Don't
quite
talk
simple.
about Tyrone Mings and fitting the system. Because you got to remember, this man was a left back for the majority of his career, and he came into Villa and they put him at centre half, and he adapted insanely quick, and we went on a 12-game unbeaten run.
I just think that Southgate has just picked him purely because he plays for a lesser club. Being honest.
I understand why you'd have that view, and it could encourage other players to up their game, or it could send a message to the seniors. Like, you see Kyle Walker's been dropped. For me, that is very surprising. But then you look at the wealth of talent the England squad's got in their fullbacks now. I mean, not so much left back. You got Chilwell, you got Rose. Fair enough. I think Chilwell will go on to play for Man City. Guardiola said he likes him. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. They're looking for a left back. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they put in a hefty bid for Chilwell next season.
Yeah.
But right back, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who for me attacking is the best there is at the moment. You see some of his crosses; they're unbelievable. Then you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who, because United are on the TV so much, you see a lot of him, and I can't deny he looks fairly impressive. I think we'd all agree that, taking bias out of it, Wan-Bissaka's looked impressive defensively for United.
Yeah.
So you've got a very good defensive fullback who's young, you've got a very good attacking fullback who's young.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kieran Trippier, who has gone over to Spain. He's put in a few good performances, and the Atletico fans are really taken to him. Mm-hmm. And his morale seems to be high, and his confidence seems to be back. He's even took shots at Pochettino and Daniel Levy, saying, well, he's criticised them, but when you're playing for Atletico Madrid, you've got to remember, they're one of the best defensively sound sides in Europe.
Yeah.
Defending is Atletico Madrid. Is there a better place to be a defender than Atletico Madrid? Personally, I don't think there is. They love defending. Diego Simeone, he has his teams.
Probably Italy is the only other place.
Yeah, okay, right, I'll give you that. The Italians love defending as well.
Yeah.
But Atletico...
It's not the point anyway.
Yeah, Atletico, they're a solid team. They're built from the back. They've lost Diego Godin, haven't they? Who has been the heart of their defence this whole time. Like, I like to call them the glory years for Atletico. Even though they didn't win a whole lot, they won a La Liga. I think they might have won a Copa. Did they win a Copa del Rey? I'm not too sure. They had a very good season, if you remember, when they got to the Champions League final and won the league.
Yeah.
You've got to remember, they got to back-to-back Champions League finals and lost both of them.
Yeah.
Joan Fran missing a penalty to cost them one, and then the other one going to extra time. Their defence is their speciality. And so Kieran Trippier has gone to this team, and now he's playing regularly in a top European club like Spurs are. Like, don't get me wrong, not taking this away from Spurs. Because you're playing in a Premier League team for Spurs, he's expected to be bombing forward, which I thought Trippier, when he got his crossing right, because there was times when he'd go through spells where his crossing would be exceptional.
Yeah.
But when you lose that form of the crossing, what else does Trippier offer? Because I don't think he's great defensively. By going to Atletico, it's only going to increase his game.
But bollocks has he gone to watch Trippier at Atletico? He's clearly not picking players off of performances.
Twice and he hasn't picked any players.
Then why is he John Walker then?
He is clearly not watching. He's not picking players based on performances.
But what I don't understand is
because
he must have.
Heaton has been shit.
No, he had. Right, okay, you're just saying that against Villa. You know Tom Heaton. That's one mistake. Dean Henderson had a mare the other day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Either way, for me, you've got Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope, and Tom Heaton are the best three keepers, English-wise. Dean Henderson will get there. You know he will get there. But let's be real, he's not going to be there at the moment. I just think Heaton's 33. He's not got that long left in him. Dean Henderson will pick up the reins. It's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, looking more for the England squad.
Callum Wilson in there as well.
Not surprising. He's been in a few times, hasn't he? I mean, who else you playing up front? Sure.
Shut Joe.
So, Rashford, for me, my starting lineup against Bulgaria and Kosovo are, and I wouldn't go Mings purely because I wouldn't want to throw him at the deep end.
Oh shit.
I'd go in goal, Jordan Pickford. Yeah. Right, left back Ben Chilwell.
Yeah.
Left centre half Harry Maguire. Right centre half. I wouldn't go Joe Gomez. I don't know. I'd be between Keane and Gomez, but I did see Wesley absolutely tear Michael Keane apart for 90 minutes.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yes, he
Villa
did.
no.
He bullied Michael Keane.
Bullshit.
He
No.
bullied Michael Keane.
Villa scored. This is completely off topic now, but the Villa Everton game, you didn't play well again. You basically scored with pretty much your first attack, then had another 15-minute spell, then took advantage of their desperation for the goal at the end by doing a pretty good counter attack and scoring your second.
Yeah,
That does, you played well for 15 minutes out of that game.
We defended. Yeah, but how didn't we defend well? If you say that,
You did defend well. You did defend
so
well.
yeah, we played well in that department.
But I
We
don't
didn't do
think
anything wrong
that
up
you
front.
deserved.
Oh, okay. Maybe the only thing you could criticise about that game is we didn't create enough chances, but we took our chances, so that makes up for that. Anyway, back to the England squad, because we spoke about Villa enough this podcast. So my back four, I've gone Pickford, Chilwell, Maguire, and for me, I go Gomez. I give Mings a go in possibly the Kosovo game, or I bring him on against Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Sitting in, if
Then a right back.
sitting in, oh yeah, I mean, Christ, right back. I'll go Trent. If you've got to go Trent, you've got to go Trent after last year. Sitting in, for me, it's between Henderson. I mean, do you get Henderson to sit or do you push him on? For
No,
me,
he's got to sit. Doesn't he?
yeah, you've got Henderson sitting. You've got the option of Rice as well, but I don't think Rice is quite ready yet. He looked a bit out of his depth in the last game. Going forward, it depends. Here's a bit unpopular. I know a lot of people have said they go Mason Mount and James Maddison, but I think
Two of the same players. It's got to be a Gerrard Lampard
it's a bit
situation.
attacking. So I'd go Harry Winks. So I think he's a bit of a box to box.
I love Harry.
He's a bit of an all rounder. I'd go Henderson sit, Winks as a bit of a forward backwards, and I'd have Maddison central attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
And I think our strike force could be one of the best in the world.
I really hope he's picked 11 players here.
Otherwise
He's going to make himself look alright.
Obviously, I'll pick 11 players.
Yeah, I know.
Jaden Sancho, right wing. Harry Kane for the middle, and Raheem Sterling left wing. And I think that personally, that's the best front trio you're going to get in the world right now.
France.
But do you play players that haven't really played that much game time for England? I mean, it's a European qualifier against Bulgaria, isn't it? Like why do you need to play players that have so much experience of playing for
Because you want to
England?
get the job done. You don't fuck around in qualifiers. We learned that under McLaren.
But there are no friendlies no more, are there? There's no friendlies.
Yeah, but
So where are you going to play players? How are players going to get experience playing for England if every single game is serious?
they're going to have to get subbed on, and they're going to have to go in slowly. That's why I say to you, I wouldn't start Mings. I'd bring him in after 60, 70 minutes once the game's secure. That's how I'd go about it personally. Anyway, what would your starting lineup be?
I haven't really thought about it, to be fair. I would probably go Pickford, Chilwell, Maguire. I like Gomez. I do. I think he's good on the ball. I think both of them are very good on the ball. I would Trent. I don't think Rice is very good, to be honest. I don't think he should be in the England team. I would go Henderson, Barkley.
Barkley?
Yeah.
Why?
I rate Barkley.
You rate Barkley?
I think he's a better box-to-box player than Winks is. As much as I love Winks,
That's a
and
very
I think Winks is
controversial
class.
That's a very controversial opinion.
But I think Barkley's better. Madison. I don't know. Why not play with a bit of pace? Why not? I would like to see Harry Kane drop just so we don't get injured. But being legit, why don't we go with Rashford as number 9, Sancho and Sterling? I mean, if Bulgaria see that front three, they are going to shit themselves.
For me, that's a bit plan A. You've got one thing there. Who's going to come back and hold the ball out of them three?
Yeah, bench. If it's not working, bring Kane on.
Then Callum Wilson, I guess he brings a completely different option to both of them. He's less fast than your Rashfords, and yeah, but he's not as fast as Rashford, Sterling, and Sancho. But he's got pace and he can hold the ball.
Yeah.
So I think he's a bit. I think you take Kane, you take the other three, and he's a bit. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching our first episode of the Two Banks of Four podcast. We've made it to at least 45 minutes. We're going to obviously experiment with the length of them. We don't know what we're going to be going for, but yeah, we think it's been a success. Obviously, we're going to be touching on the things we've gone through throughout the week, the things that happen. Make sure you follow our social medias. They'll all be in the links below. Remember, you can get this podcast on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or if you're on an Apple device, and of course you can watch it for free on YouTube. So, thanks for watching, and feel free to watch episode 2 when it comes out next week. Cheers, bye.